morning, Sedona. It is Saturday, March 30th, 2024, and this is Sedona Life with Stephen Hanks, Red Rock Country's radio magazine. Heard every Saturday at this time on Mellow Mountain Radio, KAZM 106.5 FM and 780 AM. I'm your host, Stephen Hanks, and I welcome you to a radio show that explores the fascinating aspects of life and engages with intriguing personalities in Sedona and the Verde Valley area. Today's show and all my shows until the end of May are being sponsored by an outstanding real estate company that services the Sedona area. Damien and Danielle's Sedona Village Real Estate Group with Coldwell Banker Realty should be your go-to real estate agents in the Sedona area. Why, you ask? Because their experience in the Sedona area and their dedication to our community matter. As always, my producer behind the glass is Ryan Thompson. How are you this morning, my man? Hey,
excellent.
You're looking good?
Well, I haven't shaved, so I don't know how good I'm looking.
As I'm sure, Ryan, as I'm sure you remember, last week the show previewed the 2024 Major League Baseball season.
Yes.
And the prospects for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Did you see the Diamondbacks on opening day?
That was incredible. 14
runs in the third inning.
Yes.
I mean, I couldn't believe it. I was like, all right, end the season now. They're going all the way.
Crown them champions. We're done.
Of course, my Mets opened yesterday and we lost, so I'm kind of bummed.
I got a question for you. How's your bronchitis doing? Because I know you were coughing up a storm last night.
I mean, it's a little bit better. You know, I'm hoping that I can get through the show without coughing. But
we'll wipe down your mic, don't worry.
This is becoming one of my best friends, this bronchial thing. Yeah. You know, it's the second time in like 4 months I've had it, but you know, everybody in Sedona has something like this, allergy related stuff.
Yeah.
So you just got to live with it. Anyway, let's get on to my topic for this week. Sedona Life with Stephen Hanks is going to be a tad heavier than talking about baseball. But before we get to that, it's time for this segment we always do at the top of the show, Stephen's Sedona Scene, when I tell you all about some exciting events happening over the next week in Sedona and the Verde Valley. So this morning, starting as we speak, it's actually going on this minute, and until 3 p.m., the city of Sedona is holding its 13th annual celebration of spring, which the planners are saying will be the best one yet. Everybody says that, but, you know, let's give them the benefit of the doubt. It may be the best one yet. There will be a carnival, a petting zoo, an egg hunt, prizes, bounce houses, vendors, the Easter Bunny, which I definitely want to go see, and more for all the celebration of spring. The egg hunts are free and will be available for children 12 years of age and younger. Children will be divided by age groups, and there are over 22,000 eggs waiting to be found. Remember, children will need to bring their own baskets. The carnival area with rides is $5 for each person. The celebration of spring will be at Posse Grounds Park, 525 Posse Ground Road. Visit sedonaaz.gov/rec events for more information. Ryan, I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
I just caught him trying to eat breakfast while I asked him that.
Luckily, it wasn't a mouthful of food.
Have you ever fantasized about being a cowboy?
Probably when I was younger.
Really?
Growing up in Arizona, yeah.
Well, I can assure you that growing up in New York City, being a cowboy never crossed my mind, even when I watched Roy Rogers or John Wayne films. But if any of my listeners have ever dreamed about being a cowboy, starting today and on 4 future dates this year, you can sign up for Jim Moore's Cowboy Boot Camp, where you'll learn the fundamentals of horsemanship surrounded by the stunning beauty of the Sedona landscape. After today, Cowboy Boot Camp clinics will be held on April 20th, May 4th, October 12th, and November 9th. So pick your date and sign up now because spaces are limited. You can go to www.cowboybootcamp.com. And as my listeners know, one of my many activities is serving as the president of the Sedona Referrals Club, which is a business networking group that meets every Wednesday morning from 7 to 8:30 a.m. at the Red Rock Cafe in the village of Oak Creek. The Sedona Referrals Club is a group of business owners from Sedona, Flagstaff, Cottonwood, Cornville, Clarkdale, the Verde Valley, and the surrounding northern Arizona area, and they meet to share information on their businesses and support each other with referrals to the many personal and professional connections that they have. Each business category is represented by one member, and conflicts of interest, in case you were wondering, are prohibited. So if building your business is your priority and you'd like to have a team of encouraging professionals representing you in this community, the Sedona Referrals Club encourages you to join. For more information, go to their spanking new website at src-az.org. So this episode of Sedona Life with Stephen Hanks is going to be sort of like two shows in one. Although the overarching theme is connected, which will be America's gun culture and firearm safety, whether we're talking about the Verde Valley or anywhere in the United States. When we get to the second part of today's show regarding how to be safe with firearms, I'll be bringing into the discussion today's special guest, Larry Betts, who, in addition to being my personal fitness trainer, which is how I met Larry, is also a firearms training and safety instructor based in the village of Oak Creek. But before I introduce Larry and get him into the conversation, I'm going to offer some thoughts about the gun culture in this country, a topic I've had very strong opinions about almost my entire adult life. First, just to make it a little bit local, I'd like to offer just a few random facts about guns as it relates to Arizona. First of all, you don't have to register a gun in Arizona. In fact, Arizona Statute 133102B states that no political subdivision of the state may, quote, require the licensing or registration of firearms or ammunition or any firearm or ammunition components or related accessories. How about open carry of firearms in Arizona? Well, open carry is legal in Arizona, whether you're a resident or non-resident, for any person who is at least 18 years of age and can legally possess a firearm. You might wonder if you need a concealed carry permit to have a gun in your car in Arizona. Well, actually, no. Anyone that is 21 years old and can legally purchase or own a firearm can concealed carry a firearm in their car. Now, regarding concealed weapons permits, Arizona repealed its concealed weapons permitting requirement in 2010, allowing anyone 21 or over to carry a hidden, loaded firearm in public without a license. According to the Gabby Giffords Law Center, and I'm sure you all know Gabby Giffords was the Arizona congresswoman who was shot a number of years ago and is married to our Senator Mark Kelly. In 2021, Arizona had the 18th highest gun death rate among all U.S. states. Arizona also supplied crime guns to other states at the 5th highest rate in the country. Arizona exported crime guns at nearly 2.6 times the national rate and 4 times the rate in imported guns from other states. So obviously, Arizona is one of the many states in this country that is big on guns. And that's why there is more than one gun out there for everyone in a population of around 330 million people. And what is the main argument of people who don't support any gun control or gun safety laws rally around? The sacrosanct Second Amendment of the Constitution, which is, without question, in my humble opinion, the most misunderstood, misinterpreted, and mischaracterized article of the Bill of Rights. Now, I could spend an entire show making the case that the reason the founders decided to give a very high priority to the supposed right to bear arms was because we had just fought a bloody war against England for independence, and there was every reason to believe that England or some other European power could wage war on America again, and the new government would need to call on a well-regulated militia. I don't think that Washington and Jefferson and Adams and company created the Second Amendment so the citizens of a new nation could rise up and attack the government if it thought it was becoming too powerful. But I'd rather let our current Secretary of State, Adrian Fontes, make the case about how the Second Amendment really should be interpreted and how it has become, in his words, fetishized by Second Amendment zealots who don't care how many mass shootings happen in this country, as long as the gun manufacturers are placated and they can keep as many of their precious instruments of violence as they like. My producer, Ryan, is about to cue up the audio from a YouTube video from June 2022 when Fontes, a former Marine marksmanship instructor, exposed the truth behind the Second Amendment, the real meaning of a militia, and the training that a U.S. Marine must go through before they are allowed to handle a weapon. And by the way, you're going to hear him reference Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia and Senator Kristen Sinema of Arizona in this audio, because at the time that the Biden administration was trying to get a gun law passed, those two Democratic senators were kind of on the other side of the fence before they came around and voted in favor. So, Ryan, you want to cue up the Secretary of State?
Hey everybody, Adrian Fontes here, Democrat running for Arizona Secretary of State, and I was a marksmanship instructor in the Marine Corps. I taught Marines how to shoot. Why is that important? Because I think there's a lot of people who don't understand what the Second Amendment actually means in context of the whole Constitution, right? Right, the confusion. I can just be a militia by myself, and a well-regulated militia just means what I want it to mean. That's not true. It's 100% not true. And I'm going to use this copy of the Constitution that the League of Women Voters gave me to show you why. Here's what the Second Amendment says. It's really easy. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And everybody always says, oh, well, that's great. Well, what does militia mean? What does this mean? What does that mean? Well, guess what? Article 1, Section 8, Clause 15 and 16. Here's what a militia is. For those of you, especially part of the fetishizing gun weapons kind of crowd, here's what it means. Congress shall have the power to call forth the militia, execute the laws of the Union, suppress insurrections and repel invasions. The militia, in the context of our Constitution, is enforcing the laws of the Union. They work for the government, not against some tyrannical fantasy government that you guys are fetishizing against. That's not what it's supposed to. It says so right here. It also says that the Congress shall have the power to provide for organizing, arming, and disciplining the militia. That means you get your militia arms from the government. You don't buy them yourself. That's what the Constitution says. Then it goes on to say, and for governing such part of them as may be employed in the service of the United States, reserving to the states respectively appointment of officers. So it's a whole unit. There's discipline. They arm it. It's organized under Congress's rules, reserving to the states the appointment of the officers and the authority of training the militia according to the discipline prescribed by Congress. Congress provides the rules for the militia. Congress provides the arms for the militia. Congress calls up the militia. You don't just get to be a militia on your own. And if you look carefully at Heller, you can see that Scalia hedged in his free-for-all opinion. It is not a free-for-all. He hedged. He put just the right hedge in there because he knew that giving everybody a right to have any weapon they want is wrong. And why am I passionate about this? Why do I know about this? Not just because I'm running for Secretary of State and ran an election in Maricopa County, right here in Arizona, but because back when I was in Yuma as an active duty Marine, I was a marksmanship instructor. Digging through some stuff, I found this manual that I used to use, this giant thick manual that Marines use to train each other on how to fire weapons. I mean, look at this thing. This is what we had to teach Marines. It's a 2-week course. Marines have to go through this every single year to be qualified to shoot with the M16A2 service rifle, which is like the AR-15. But an 18-year-old in the United States of America, an 18-year-old doesn't have to go through any of that training, can go grab an AR-15 and do damage like they've done and murder kids in classrooms like they've done, like they continue to do. It's crazy. You know, and when it comes down to it, sure, some of the Democrats have a little blame, Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema, but what about the Republicans like Ted Cruz that are out there blaming doors? What about all of the Republicans who are not standing up doing what their constituents want them to do in their own red states? The kind of regulation that we're talking about, universal background checks, banning assault weapons, these are all very, very popular, and none of the Republicans are backing any of that stuff. So you can go out there and say, oh, these two Democrats, it's all of the Republicans. They all need to get on board and do what the American public wants them to do. I'm Adrian Fontes. I'm running for Secretary of State in Arizona, and this Democrat is not going to go quietly into the night. We're going to fight, and we're going to win.
Wow. So anyway, given the astronomical number of guns and the extreme level of gun violence in this country, if I was president and could be a dictator on day one, as our pathological lying sociopath mob boss former president says, if he was reelected, God forbid, these would be my top 14 gun laws that I would enact by executive order. You ready? Here we go. Number 1, national gun ownership at age 21. Federal law sets a dangerously low minimum age for buying firearms. While the law requires a person to be 21 to purchase a handgun from a licensed firearm dealer, it only requires a person to be 18 to buy a long gun, including an assault weapon, from a dealer. 2, universal background checks on federal and state levels. 3, gun licensing and registration. 4, ammunition sales database. 5, elimination of the permitless carry and open carry laws. 6, banning assault weapons like the AR-15. 7, banning high-capacity magazines. 8, eliminating the private gun sale loopholes. 9, closing the bump stock loophole. And if you don't know about bump stocks are gun stocks that can be used to assist in bump firing, which is the act of using the recoil of a semi-automatic firearm to fire ammunition cartridges in rapid succession. 10, institution of red flag laws. A red flag law is a gun violence prevention law that permits a state court to order the temporary removal of firearms from a person who they believe may present a danger to others or themselves. 11, new gun storage laws. Gun owners can make their homes and communities safer and protect children and adults from unintentional shootings and gun suicides by storing their guns locked, unloaded, and separate from ammunition. 12, make creation of ghost guns, those guns that people can create with 3D printers, illegal. 13, liability insurance for gun owners. And 14, which is being fought over constantly in the Congress, repealing the law that shields gun manufacturers from civil liability. Now, here's the thing that everyone in my listening audience should understand. If every single one of the 14 laws I just listed were enacted, it wouldn't prevent anyone under 21 from their precious right to bear a firearm. Would it be difficult and take longer? Yes. Would it be more expensive? Yes. But it might not take you any longer or be more expensive than it does right now to get a learner's permit and a driver's license and insurance to drive a car. Now, I'm enough of a realist to know that many of those proposed laws will likely not be enacted in my lifetime. Unless, of course, the Democrats can win the presidency, the Senate, and the House in 2024. So here's the deal. If tens of millions of people in this country and millions of people in Arizona and thousands of people in the Verde Valley are going to own guns, they need to know how to operate them safely. And that's where my guest in the studio today comes in. Larry Betts is originally from Long Island, New York, and moved to Brooklyn in 2004 when he opened his first gym. By 2010, he opened up a personal training studio and eventually expanded it to a 20,000 feet training facility. To be better prepared for an emergency, in 2017, Larry attended emergency medical technician school. A year later, Larry started firearms training at the Sig Sauer Academy, and in 2020, he went through their instructor training. Larry and his current beautiful wife, Diana, moved to the village of Oak Creek in 2021, a few months before my wife, the woman warrior, and I arrived there. And Larry opened a gym and personal training studio in his garage where he has been training me for baseball for the last couple of years, and very well, I may add. Larry continued his firearm training through the U.S. Concealed Carry Association, and in 2022, he started the Sedona Gun Club to help educate the Sedona community in firearm safety. Larry, my friend, welcome to Sedona Life with Stephen Hanks.
Thank you, Steve.
It's great to have you here.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
So I think I want to start out just you explaining to the audience, how, your career has been as a personal trainer and fitness trainer mainly.
Correct.
But then you got involved in this. So tell the audience, why you did it, what motivated you, how it all started, what's going on.
Okay. So even before I was a trainer, I've been a lifelong martial artist. So I've always wanted to know how to defend myself. Mm-hmm. And through my training, I kind of gravitated towards strength and conditioning. I was fascinated by the fact of understanding energy systems, how to help people recover from injuries, and how to get ready for events.
Right.
Loved it. In 2016, 17, I started seeing more and more like people driving cars into crowds, bombs going off. And I'm like, man, I want to know more medical training, because realistically, you're more likely to use your medical training than anything else in an emergency.
Right.
Okay. So that brought me to EMT school. Fast forward, wanted to learn more about firearms. In the Northeast, there's other places, but the Sig Sauer Academy was amazing. Mm-hmm. We're talking about, a 200-acre facility with everything you need, and all the instructors were fantastic. And I'll tell you, those instructors really set me straight on legality and use of force. Mm-hmm. When you have somebody who's been a cop for 20-something years come into the classroom and tell you, if somebody is in my house and they're stealing a TV, I'm calling the insurance company the next morning saying they stole an 80-inch TV and $800 cash. He goes, because I don't want to go to court.
Right.
Goes, but if they then come upstairs to me and my family, that's a completely different scenario. Mm-hmm. Okay. And that really, a switch went off in my head, and I'm like, wow. Be careful. Wow. That's really powerful and good information.
Right.
And they would always, every class was always started off with like an hour safety brief, a medical brief, and use of force. And it was really a great education, having the opportunity to train with people on the front lines.
So you were pretty well equipped to talk about this stuff and work with people on firearm safety when you got here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So how did the operation in Sedona start after you moved here? Because you haven't been here that long. It's almost 3 years. It's 3 years,
correct.
Right?
Yeah. So after my first year, I started doing more training down in the Valley. Alpha 1 Tactical, great training there as well. And one morning, Sunday morning, I'm reading Next Door. And I think it may have been...
Which is a very entertaining space. And
it's very interesting.
Yeah.
But there was a situation, you might have remembered this, and I think it was right by our homes, where a woman went into her kitchen to make breakfast one morning, and there was a guy in her kitchen.
Oh, wow.
Okay. She freaked out. She screamed. He ran out. The comments that were posted on that were horrifying.
In what way?
That's why I have a gun. You should have shot him. And I'm like, man, this is just, and I got into some discussions. That your life has to be in danger. Mm-hmm. At what point was her life in danger? And I got into some people supposedly ex-law enforcement. I'm like, no, you can't do that. Okay, let's just
Did you get the impression from reading those comments that most of the people commenting did own guns?
Possibly.
Okay.
They've said they did.
Okay.
That's why I own a gun. That's why I do this.
Right.
Let's be realistic. 8 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday, when I go to make coffee, I'm in my pajamas. I don't have a gun on me.
All right.
I mean,
you're not open carrying.
Yeah, right. Let's be realistic. Am I walking around my house with body armor, night vision, and a helmet, ready to go?
Right.
No,
right.
That's just not realistic. So you have to be realistic with the scenario. And again, I started seeing the comments, and I'm like, this is not good. I said, okay, let me see if I could start getting people educated. So I started a group. Got a lot of emails, a lot of requests. I think close to 200 people.
Wow.
Yeah. Like right away. People were very, very interested in training. And then
all from right around the village of Oak Creek.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It was really very, very positive. Real positive. And I was so happy to hear that. And then I hooked up with this other woman, Kim Heller. Mm-hmm. Helen. And she had an extensive background in training and teaching as well. We became very good friends. And she helped me teach as well. She actually has been teaching the introduction to firearm safety class with me. We're good looking to do another one. And then we started meeting people at the range. And that's when I started to get people more and more involved. Now I have a beginner's course. And a lot of times, honestly, we talk. We don't even take a gun out. It's all, why? What is your why? Why are you doing this? What's your purpose? And this goes for everything.
You got to start with the basics on their motivation. Yeah.
And just in life, if you're doing this to live a long, healthy, happy life, then you got to be smart about it. Right. And then also, we'll get back into that a little bit. It's like, if you're doing it to live a long, healthy, happy life, where's your fitness level at?
Right. Cross-pollinating the businesses.
I'm just saying, if
very synergistic.
If you're doing this and you're, slamming cheeseburgers and beer, that might not be conducive to your mission, right?
Right. So let me do a little like what the kids call role playing.
Sure. A scenario.
Yeah, a scenario. So I've never owned a gun and I never shot a gun. Not even like to go to target practice. I really would not want to have one. But let's say, Biden becomes president again, or Trump goes to jail, or both. And I start getting worried that there could be some kind of violence, whether it's here or whatever. And I feel, you know what? I need to have a gun just in case people have listened to this show and they want to come after me.
Okay.
So I go to see you and I'm like, Larry, I've never done this before. I've never shot a gun. And what's the first thing I gotta learn?
My first question is going to be, is this to carry or is it for home defense?
Right.
Okay. Because if you're doing it for home defense, what does your house look like? What's your front door look like? What is your strike plate? What's the door frame? What are the windows? Do you have motion detectors? Do you have motion lights? Do you have a driveway signal? Or anything to give you more awareness. There's a good saying, no awareness, no chance.
Yeah.
Awareness is the currency that we buy time with. Okay. So if it's for home defense, let's make your house so you never have to use it.
Right.
If it's for personal security when you're out and about, what's your situational
Assuming
awareness?
you're in a place that you're allowed to carry.
Correct. Right. Correct. If that's your goal, okay, let's peel back. Do you understand the Tula drill, which is a 21-foot drill? It came about in the 80s, and it was taught to police officers. Again, there's a lot of discrepancy on that, but I like to use it as a scenario for people to understand situational awareness.
And what exactly is that?
They placed a guy with a knife at 21 feet and a cop with a gun in a holster. Hit the timer. Within 1.5 seconds, the guy was able to close the gap and slash the cop, and the cop could not get his gun out in a second and a half. So
could anybody do that?
Some could, again, some could. There's a bell curve. Everything has a bell curve, right? There's some that are really good, some that are really slow. But on average, and there's always a lot of controversy on that drill, but it's a good thing to talk about to understand personal space. How close can you let somebody get to you? Now, you and I in Brooklyn, how many times did you see somebody and like, I don't want to be near that guy, and you just cross the street.
Right, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's
hide behind the parked car.
Yeah, right. Right. That happens all the time. So those are the things like, and sadly, people are, like this all the time.
On their phones,
their phones, looking down, 45 degrees, no awareness. And sadly, you're just a target at that point. Or you're in what's called a transitional space where you're in a Clark shopping center, right? Going to your car, you're unloading your baggage, you're distracted, right?
Right.
So you're not looking about possibly somebody coming up on you. So before I even get to a gun, I want people to be more aware of what's going on around them. And then last weekend, 8 hours, I was in another class because I still do a lot of training. If good instructors are in town, I seek them out.
Right.
And the whole goal of this 8 hours is how can you access your gun at distance? And what if the guy gets your gun? And what if this? And we went through a million different scenarios, 2 people, 1 person, and we were banging each other around. And it was good training to understand that, just having a gun does not mean you're safer.
Right.
Okay. It really, and if you're not training and a bad guy sees it, a bad guy could get your gun. I mean, I think you just even brought up, if your gun's not, I had read an article. It takes 3 years for a legally owned gun to wind up in the hands of a criminal if it's not secured correctly.
Right.
And listen, that's my property. I would be horrified if my property was taken from me and then used.
Oh yeah.
That's really not acceptable. Yeah. It's really not acceptable. So a lot of things that you mentioned in that list, they were enacted in New York.
Right.
I had to have a safe. I had to demonstrate that I had a safe. Every gun was registered, and I had to have my license and everything else. And okay, that's what we had to do.
Right.
Believe it or not, in New York, you can't get firearm insurance for self-defense.
Right.
Because of the use of force laws.
Got it.
So USCCA is very good with that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay. So the dynamic of the course, you sign up and you want to take the course. How many sessions are there? When do you feel like you've gotten to the point where you know what you're talking about?
So for me personally, and I'll go into how I've been running my organization. We moved out here, and I had just done another, I think it was my 3rd night shoot, using a flashlight, using a handgun.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I finally said to my wife. I said, you know what? I added it up. I had over 400 hours of formal training. I added up all my certificates, and those are just classes, not my own training.
Wow.
I had 400 hours, and I said, I finally feel confident to carry a gun.
So if I wanted to do that, I would need 400 hours of training?
No, I would
pare it down.
I would give you what you need. You need to put your time in.
Right.
Still right now, I try and go to at least 2 night classes a year and 2 what are called CQB, close quarter battle, where you learn to go in and around your house to use your gun. In fact, the next one I signed up for, we're going to go through an actual office, that's pretty amazing. God forbid you're in that position and you know how to go in and around center opening rooms, left opening room, right opening room, the hidden corners and so forth, and that plays into your house. How many hidden spots do you have in your house?
Right.
Quick little story about training. One of the guys I train with, this guy, Josh Logan, Guardian Training and Consulting. He was a cop for 18 years in Chandler. Really good guy. And he was talking about if you are a home invasion, let's say, and you go to your safe room and you lock yourself in, he goes, you stay on the phone with the police. You call 911, you stay on the phone with the police. He goes, I've gone to calls where people are locked in their bedroom and I knock on the door from the side and I put my business card underneath so they know I'm a cop. And they call, they're on the phone with 911. Yeah, that's Josh Logan. Josh Logan's here. Okay. Then they open up their bedroom door because how many bad guys could knock on your door? Yeah, I'm the police. Yeah. And then now we got a problem.
Right. So some of the stuff you were just talking about involved movement and how you position yourself and strategies about dealing with situations. What about the actual physical training? Like you're with somebody and you show them, this is how you shoot it. This is how you use it. So, what kind of guns do you work with when you do this? Like that kind of stuff.
Great question. So a lot of times now I'm just finishing this up. Before we even go to the range, I have all these handouts made so they know the terminology.
Right. It's
really important to understand the terminology. Please show up at the range with an unloaded gun in a case.
Got it.
Your first time, I don't know you. Okay. I don't need you what's called flagging, taking the muzzle and pointing it at me. Right. That's called flagging. It's like, No, we want to keep that part of the gun that way, downrange.
We're not talking about red flag. We're talking about flagging.
Flagging,
right.
exactly. So, especially around here, we have Dry Creek, which has a great range up by us. Beaverhead Flats, nice little range. I show up, I bring a table. So this way people feel we have a little barrier, and then I have a workspace to work with, to start with. And I like to put the gun on the table. Show me you could handle it. Can you open it up? Can you remove the source of feed? Can you remove the magazine? Can you show me nothing is in the barrel? And I judge by that. And a lot of times I always start with a training pistol just to see how people, because it's naturally made. As soon as you grab it, your finger's going to go on that trigger.
Yeah.
It's just like grabbing a drill or a circular saw. Your finger goes there. It just happens.
I don't know if you heard this story in the news recently, but it was about a mother who accidentally killed her daughter because the gun in her purse went off.
Right.
How does something like that happen?
So, again, this is something we cover in a USCCA concealed carry class.
Got it.
Where we talk about gears and gadgets. Okay. We talk about holsters and retention and off the body carry. So she was doing an off the body carry, but if she put it in her pocketbook and nothing was covering the trigger,
right, something could hit it.
Her lipstick, a chapstick, you get in there, you move the thing, the gun's going to go off. So we always talk about, covering that trigger. So if you decide to carry off the body, it's got to be in a holster, even though. So this way, if you grab it or it bounces into exactly what happened, I read that and I'm like, oh, God, I was sick.
I know.
Her life is
ruined. What other
ruined.
reaction could you have?
Her life is ruined. And I'm saying, if she would have taken a class, she would have known. If she would have had a good instructor. And then, the classes now that I've been taking, every class is full. Okay. I was just in the class in December going through the USCCA instructor curriculum. We had 15 instructors in there, all experienced firearms instructors, but they wanted to get the knowledge. The USCCA is doing an amazing job with their curriculum. There was like 8 modules. Nothing had to do with a gun.
Yeah.
It was situational awareness, home defense, understanding safe storage, understanding. We didn't have to go to the range. There's so much that you could do to make you and your family safer.
Yeah.
Without carrying a gun.
I got to tell you something. If I was going to take a class with you, and I knew how much you train and how many classes, I mean, it's very impressive and very commendable how you keep yourself up on all this stuff. So the person who's taking a class with you feels like they're with somebody who really knows what they're talking about. And if you're going to talk about having a weapon, absolutely, you better work with somebody who knows their stuff.
Absolutely. I thought it was really interesting in doing some research. I think over the past year, every year, it's like increased by 20%, people getting their license and getting training. And like I said, every class I'm going to, they're full. People are starving for good training now, which is, I love it. I think it's great. And a lot of these guys, it's not their full-time gig. They don't charge a lot. Like $75 for a 5-hour class is not a lot of money. And it's
what's the demographic of the people that you're working with, given you're in Sedona? Like, is it mostly older people who may be fearful, or
it is older people, mix men and women,
right? Some
couples,
right?
Which is it's honestly great. It's a force multiplier. The more your family knows, the safer you will be.
When people start doing it, do they start out feeling intimidated by holding the gun, using the gun, and then finally warm up to it? I'll just give you a quick story related to that. And I think I might have told you this one day when we were working out in your gym. I had a woman who was a handy person for me.
Yes.
I'm not going to mention names or anything, but she was into guns, and she went regularly to firearm practice at one of the ranges. Usually after church, by the way.
Okay.
Whenever. I guess Sunday was her best time. And she would always tell me about her guns, and being like not a big gun guy, I was like, okay, I don't need to hear about your going to the range. So one day she shows up, I'm in my driveway, in my garage with the door open, and she pulls up because she had to do some work for me. And she has this knapsack with her. And she comes in and she has this big smile on her face and she's, Steve, I just had to show you this. And like, she wanted to show, she opens up the bag and she's got these 3 enormous guns in there. Like, I don't even know if you could call them handguns. I mean, I'm not well versed enough to know if a pistol, the difference between a pistol and something bigger, but they were all different. She had 3 of them. And so I guess what I'm getting at is, does somebody need to have that many guns?
It depends. Okay. Sometimes if you want to carry, you're going to want something a little bit smaller.
Right.
Okay. So it's easier to conceal.
Or something bigger if you're doing target practice or something like that.
I have my range gun and my home defense gun, which is bigger, because my home defense gun, I don't have to hide. Okay. So it's a little bit more robust. Okay. Also, I have 3 different rifles for different purposes. Next week, I'm going to take my first class in long range shooting. I know nothing about it. And it's like, you know what? As I get older and I can't get back and forth to the targets as easy, it's a fact. It's just a fact.
I'm glad none of these guns are like against the wall in the garage gym.
No,
I might have a problem coming to work.
You know, again, that goes to safe storage.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I'm just kidding.
I hear you, man. Yeah. I understand, and I respect people's point.
Yeah.
And as long as they respect my point of view too, that's fine.
What kind of reaction are you getting from the people taking the classes?
Very positive.
Yeah.
Very, very positive. Now that I've been working with a lot of the same people now, they're getting good. So now the people that are like my intermediate people, we're running better, more realistic drills to keep them. And we're working from concealment where I know they're not going to get hurt.
Yeah.
Right. Because if you're going to carry it from concealment, you got to practice accessing it and getting it off of a timer. You know, I said, okay, shooter's ready. And then they're waiting for that beep. So it's on like a starting gun for
right.
So, and when that beep goes off, you're like, a little adrenaline spike. And it's like, oh my God, what was your time? What were your shots like? What was your placement? It's like, and this is in a controlled environment.
Do you sense people are competitive in the group?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah. You know, people, how are you shooting today? It's similar to maybe golf, maybe. You know? What'd you shoot today? It's one of those things.
I hit the green.
You know, it is funny because like long range shooting, people are like, oh, what is it called? I said, oh no, long range shooting, like the optics could be $5,000 alone. It's like, it's very expensive.
Do you have anybody like that take the course that may start out with the attitude that I have, where they never wanted to have a gun, they never shot a gun, they didn't want to have anything to do with guns, but for whatever reason they took the class, who surprisingly really get into it?
Yes. Yeah. A few.
I wouldn't be surprised.
A few. They're kind of like, you know what? This is not.
They feel empowered when they have it.
It's also a supportive community.
Yeah.
You know, we have a good time. We get together on a Saturday morning, then we go out to lunch. And
that's cool.
Yeah. It's a good morning.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful sunny afternoon. We do some training, we talk, and it's a nice community. But yes, like my wife, she was, coming from Brooklyn, New York, you're like, God, no.
Yeah.
And when you look at the laws in New York City area, like, yeah, no, that makes sense. But then out here, it's completely different.
Oh yeah. And as long as you brought that up, it's a good segue to one of the things we talked about one morning in the gym when we were working.
Oh,
this thing about that I didn't know was happening, and it's specific to where we are. Excuse me. See, I tried to get through the whole show without the coughing. So this thing about people throwing cans on driveways to and leaving them there to see if they get removed, so they know that the person's not at home and they can break in.
Yep.
What's going on with that?
That was a few years ago. One of my other clients mentioned to me, he lives really up Verde Valley Road, up with the bigger houses. There were art collectors that live up there. And people were coming up from Phoenix, throwing stuff on the driveway, and they come back the next day.
That's wild.
And it's the same thing. It's like, if you go out of town for a few days, you get your neighbor, get your mail, right?
And there's a lot of that here. People go away for weeks and months at a time.
We're coming up to that season where people head out of town for months now.
Yeah.
So it's really a good idea to talk to your neighbors, know what's going on. One of my favorite topic is situational awareness. What doesn't fit in? Does that car fit in? Do I know that car? Do those people walking around, are they in an Airbnb? Are they new renters? Who are they? Try and get to know them. It's like, what are they? And if they don't want to talk and they move on, that might raise a red flag. Like, what is going on here? Is my neighborhood not safe?
Yeah. Talking about this thing with the cans on the driveway, it occurs to me, like, I sell advertising for the film festival program. So up until this year, before the festival started, they would, to get circulation out, and so the advertisers knew that a lot of people were getting the program, they would put programs in plastic bags on driveways all over town. Now, they stopped doing that mainly because people were complaining that was an ecological problem. But I'm wondering now if part of the reason they had to stop that was because people that were not home didn't want anybody to see that program was laying on their driveway for days at a time.
That's very possible.
And I think that could have been a reason.
Having Ring cameras and stuff, that's all well and good.
Right.
But after that, it's already done.
Yeah.
I like my camera system to give me a notice, awareness, what's going on, why is this? And sometimes you catch some great wildlife too. Right. We live in the mountains. You see some pretty cool stuff too.
Yeah. So how do you feel personally about this kind of work? I mean, what gives you satisfaction at what you're doing in terms of firearm safety for people?
I've always loved trying to make people healthier, stronger, safer. I was a martial arts instructor.
Right.
In my thought process, I want to make people safer. Mm-hmm. The organization I teach with now, it's called SPEAR, Spontaneous Protection, Enabling an Accelerated Response. Tony Blauer, he teaches all over the world, and his mission is to make the world safer. And I totally agree. And there's so many ways to do that, whether it's through self-defense, situational awareness, a firearm. It's just another tool. If you were to look at my car, I make sure my car is safe. I make sure I have good tires and tire pressure and, emergency lights if I get stuck, and a floor jack. And, these are all the things. It's like what we said in the beginning. What's your mission?
Right.
If you want to live a long, healthy, happy life, you got to be smarter and a little bit more prepared. Doesn't mean be paranoid. Doesn't mean walking around with night vision, but just being aware and being a little bit safer. Mm-hmm.
I wanted to definitely save some time to talk about another thing that you're very passionate about and get a lot of satisfaction out of, and that's the personal training part of your life.
Yes.
But before we get to that, I need to acknowledge my sponsor for the show.
Sure.
And my terrific sponsor is from Sedona Life with Stephen Hanks. Until the end of May is Damien and Danielle Sedona Real Estate Group. Nestled in the heart of our breathtaking Sedona, husband and wife Damien Bruno and Danielle Gian have not just lived, but flourished for more than 20 years in the Verde Valley. As pillars of the village of Oak Creek, they've raised a family, volunteered tirelessly with the Rotary Club of Sedona and the Sedona Village Partnership, and for a decade have been the proud organizers of the beloved annual community barbecue in the VOC. And by the way, breaking news, Damien and Danielle have asked me to MC the barbecue in May, which, and I think KAZM may also be involved in that.
Oh, nice.
How cool is that? Damien and Danielle aren't just your next real estate agents. They're your neighbors, your friends, and a top Sedona team ready to support you, whether you're buying or selling. With 2 decades of real estate expertise and a love for our community that's second to none, Damien and Danielle Sedona Village Real Estate Group is the go-to business for your real estate needs. They want to make your Sedona dream a reality. So contact them today at SedonaRealestateAgents.com, because community and experience matter. So, Larry, let's talk about your personal fitness life.
My trainer, yes.
That's right. Okay, so in no particular order, the first question I would ask you, sort of getting back to the question about the demographics of the community.
Yes.
Obviously, Sedona is an older age group, age community.
Yes.
Is that what the demographic of most of your clients? And if they are,
so
how do you work with them? What's your strategy of working with older people as opposed to like some 30-year-old that goes to the gym every day?
Great. I love this. So back in my gym in Brooklyn, big gym, I had 12 trainers working for me, but here I am, the 50-year-old guy.
Right.
And all my trainers like 20-nothing, 30-year-old hot Instagram models practically. And I'm the cranky old
like
guy.
Ryan Thompson, our producer.
Yeah.
He's been a hot Instagram model over time.
But as it turned out, I did have a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience. And my experience also happened to be mostly injuries. Mm-hmm. People coming back post-surgery, torn up knees, ankles, back, neck. I just was really good at getting people stronger, working around their injuries.
So you're kind of doing physical therapy as well as training in a way,
it's
right?
My wife.
Oh, okay.
So she has 10 herniated discs and from a car accident.
Oh,
so we had been friends for a while. So I was training her, working with her. And she's like, you know more about exercise than most physical therapists. Mm-hmm. I said, oh, well, thank you. That's a big compliment. And, then we got married. And yes, my wife is beautiful. Thank God. I'm blessed. But moving out here actually put me right in the middle of my demographic. People that are older, that want to stay active, maintain muscle, and usually have injuries.
Right.
A lot of knee replacements, a lot of hip replacements, messed up necks. And the ability for me to scale down exercise to give them a good workout and see them get stronger and more mobile. It's really, honestly, very, very rewarding to have somebody late 70s say, I can now get up and down off the ground when I'm playing with my grandkids.
Oh, that's got to be amazing.
It's beautiful. Yeah. It's beautiful. That's what I love that. Mm-hmm. It's like, yes, that's my mission. I love that because I'm making their quality of life better. Right. Okay. They want to be able to go hiking for as long as they can.
Exactly. Like my wife does.
Yeah, sure. B's very, very active.
Right.
And, you see people if they don't, I think a lot of people here are very, very in tune to what happens if they don't. They see people maybe in their 80s with Parkinson's or something else. And they're like, man, maybe if I could just keep that off, push that off for as long as I can. Mm-hmm. Or they come back, they're cleared for exercise after a knee replacement and they want to get back to hiking and so forth. So those are the things that were really my wheelhouse. Mm-hmm. I just gravitated towards it naturally. I mean, yes, I worked with some pretty high level athletes. I worked with a kid who was trying to make the USA Taekwondo team.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, the kid was, I will say one thing about that. When you train high level athletes, you have to slow them down. They want to go.
They're super motivated.
They want to do everything 100% every time. And what happens is they get hurt a lot. So my job as a coach is to just get them stronger, not let them get hurt. And I heard that quote from Michael Jordan's trainer. The guy's like, you trained Michael Jordan. Oh my God, what do you do with him? They're like, he's Michael Jordan. I just got to make sure he doesn't get hurt. That was a huge takeaway. Yeah.
Now you're using your garage as your gym, and you've done a great job setting that up. I'm one of your clients, so I know. How, when you were putting that together, how did you make the decision about like what kind of equipment you were going to use within the space?
Yes.
And how has it grown? How has it changed over the time you've been doing it?
So originally I was thinking about getting a power rack, and power racks, a decent one is like $2,000. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, you know what? Let me see what type of clientele I get here. I might not need that piece of equipment.
Right.
And I was right. I really didn't. I needed good dumbbells, a good bench, and a good.
So it's a little trial and error based on the clients.
My experience. Yeah. And knowing like what I really needed to get people to move the way I wanted them to move. Mm-hmm. So I was able to cut back on some stuff and get more of the stuff that I needed. And I didn't want it too cluttered because I knew I wanted to do small groups.
Right.
And one of my favorite things is doing 2 or 3 people at a time.
Oh yeah. I've seen you work with little groups of women, especially. Yeah.
They have a ball. We laugh. We have the greatest time. They're getting work done. They're all getting stronger. They're better on the pickleball court, and that's really important. Okay. I try and work with them on mobility issues to make their golf game better. It's like, if you can't do this, this, and this, you're going to have a hard time. So we spend the time on that, and they love it. Yeah. It's a great feeling. We all walk out having a good time. And my wife's like, this is not work for you. You're laughing. Right. It's like, yeah, no. Which
is why I when I'm with you, our sessions are supposed to be an hour, but we end up actually only working out for 50 minutes because we're fitting in conversations about politics and guns
and life.
Right, and life.
Yeah, family issues. Right. You and I have a lot of life experience.
Complaining to you about how I didn't get any hits in my baseball game there.
But be thankful that, you're still out there.
Thank you. Well, you're keeping me ready for games.
That's important, man.
Really.
That's important. I see some of the stuff you do. I'm like, don't stop.
Right.
Don't stop. Because the day you stop, you're going to hate yourself.
Yeah, you got to stay on me about that.
Okay.
Because I can easily get distracted by getting ready for radio shows. Yes. Not working out. So are you actively looking for more clients at this point? Because if you are, you can do a little promotion, like how people can get a hold of you. I can
always get a few more in. I can always get 1 or 2 more spots. Right now, I've been dealing a lot of appointments for my health.
Right.
That issues that I've been dealing with. So those health issues take.
So if somebody, right. Oh, I know. I can see you going through that. So if somebody wants to hire you or be a client, how would they get a hold of you?
Best way is email Larry at Sedona strengthandmobility.com, all spelled out.
Got it. Larry at Sedona strengthandmobility.com. That's great. So anything else you want to add about that people should know?
Keep moving.
Yeah.
Stay strong. Keep muscle on your body. One of the biggest things, in doing all this research, I didn't realize one of the biggest causes of death is falling.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, that happened to Joe Lieberman, the senator, the other day.
Right.
He died from complications of falls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going through all these statistics like, oh my God, I'm getting close to that. Yeah. So if you stay strong and mobile, you're just going to be more resilient.
There you go. That's great advice. Well, boy, that hour went quick.
It really did.
Yeah. Well, that's all the time we have for the show today. I really want to thank my guest, firearm safety instructor and personal fitness trainer, Larry Betts. Thanks so much, Larry. Special thanks to my sponsor, Damian and Danielle Sedona Real Estate Group, because community and experience matter. Thanks, as always, to my man, Ryan Thompson, in the booth. Done another great job today. By the way, tell your friends who couldn't hear the show today that they can listen to a podcast version anytime on Apple Podcasts. Can also find it on Spotify, actually, which is pretty cool. And you can email me with comments and questions to sedona@mellowmountainradio.com. Please tune in next Saturday morning when the show's topic will be classical music in Sedona. And my guest will be the artistic director and conductor of the Sedona Symphony, Jana Himes, and the Symphony's longtime president, Sue Buffum, telling us about the Symphony's next concert on April 7th at the Sedona Performing Arts Center. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll catch you next week.